Well, we want to bring in our Paula Reid to discuss. Again, Paula, now we do have a decision regarding President Obama's immigration mandate. What is it?
Josh, this is one of the centerpieces of the president's second term, and the Supreme Court has essentially upheld a ruling blocking the president's efforts to impose executive action on immigration. Now, under his program, he issued an executive order announcing that they would defer deportation for about 4 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. who are parents of citizens. The lower courts issued injunctions blocking that. The state of Texas also sued, saying that the president had overstepped his power. And in order to sue, Josh, they also had to argue that they were somehow injured. Their argument was that they were injured because they now had to issue licenses and other documents to undocumented immigrants. Now, we weren't sure if the court would actually buy that argument, but because of the split here, we do have a 4-4, which isn't necessarily a ruling on whether or not the president overstepped his bounds, but what it did is it upholds a lower court ruling blocking one of the president's signature actions in his second term.
And for questions now in the time in which we are, when we see splits, and so it upholds a lower court's ruling, when a ninth justice is put in place, can this return to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the problem with this decision is it just puts these 4 million people in flux. It's not a definitive answer on this action or its legality. Once they have a ninth justice, whoever the president is appoints that justice, and they will presumably eventually someone be affirmed, they can bring this question about executive action back up to the Supreme Court. Now, interestingly, Josh, in the transgender litigation that is currently working its way through the court, led by the state of Texas, they're essentially using the same exact argument. Several states have joined with Texas, pushing back against the administration, saying, look, you're trying to do things that should be done through Congress. And that fight will also likely make its way to the Supreme Court. So ultimately, Josh, this question of the extent to which the president can issue executive actions and sort of legislate from the White House, this will have to be answered by the Supreme Court. But here we get a non-answer. But the president has his answer on the future of his executive action. It's blocked.
Now, this came on the heels, of course, of a major ruling regarding affirmative action today, where a 4-4 split did not, in fact, come into play.
No, we didn't have a 4-4 split there because Justice Kagan had to recuse herself from the affirmative action case because she'd previously worked on this specific case. The case of Abigail Fisher, a young white woman from Texas. She argues that she was denied admission in favor of what she describes as less qualified minorities. In the state of Texas, if you're in the top 10% of your class, you automatically get admitted to the University of Texas. Everyone else is evaluated on a variety of factors, including race. She argues that that was unconstitutional, but the Supreme Court has once again upheld the use of race as one of many factors in determining admissions decisions.
Reid, we thank you for your time.